Welcome to the show, everyone. My guest today is Duncan Littlefield. So Duncan and I connected about a year ago through a mutual contact, and it was one of those introductions where the person said, you guys got to talk. You just have a synergy that I think you're going to feel right away. And we did. We've actually had maybe 3-4 conversations in the last year. And every time I walk away from those conversations, number one, I feel like I'm talking to a brother because it's like, we think the same. We've gone down similar journeys. We were both, athletes in our own rights, kind of growing up and into the university years and even did schooling. Like Duncan actually never finished his university schooling. I did, but then I actually walked away from my marketing degree feeling like, did I really need that? Because I dove straight into sales. And anyways, we talked a bit about that on this podcast, just this feeling as though, you have something inside of you that makes you a visionary before you even know what that means or before you can even align with the idea of truly being that. And I know I mentioned on the podcast that, when I first heard that term, I kind of resisted it a little bit. I was like, visionary, that sounds a little pretentious. It sounds like, I'm the person kind of sitting back and just barking out ideas and making everybody do my work for me, right? And we broke that down a little bit because Duncan and I both are very much integrator visionaries, meaning that like we have big ideas. We can see ideas from start to finish where now what we've had to hone over years is how do you articulate that vision in a way that inspires and encourages and allows other people to co-create and allows integrators to come in and support you. And in a business environment, it's an easy breakdown. It's like you need somebody to do operations. You need somebody to handle HR. You need somebody to handle marketing and sales and all these functions within a business. So anyways, me and Duncan are both visionaries in our own rights. And he's somebody that I'm really looking forward to you meeting as well, because he is a storyteller. He is somebody that's not only telling stories for himself, his company, but also his clients. And his clients range from, large corporations to sports teams, professional sports teams, to individuals that have stories to tell that matter. As Duncan says, your story is enough. Everybody's story is enough. And he's got some partners that he works with to be able to help people really extract their who story. Who are they? What matters to them? What makes up them? What makes them the best version of themselves right now in this moment? And of course, constantly be aspiring to be a greater version of your current self, but being okay with who you are right now, and then actually telling that story and using it as your means to be able to attract your next client, to be able to sell your product, to be able to enroll somebody into your vision, whatever it might be. Duncan is one of these people that I think you're really going to enjoy meeting. And I'm going to make sure to link up all of his assets too, so you can check out all these projects he's got going on. The guy's got so many things happening all the time. And that's why there's so much energy whenever we have conversations. So let's go ahead and give it a listen. All right, Duncan Littlefield, welcome to my podcast. It's so great to reconnect with you again, buddy. It's been too many months already between our chats here. I was missing it.
Well, I'm honored to be here. And, the truth of it is like, you're missing it. I mean, if I could probably get that in writing, I think a lot of other people would maybe feel the opposite. But man, I'm honored. I'm happy to be here. And no, it's always great to see your smiling face and get to be able to connect and hang out and chat life and business and everything in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we got connected. I was trying to go back on when we first got connected. It was almost a year ago, though, I think. And a lot's transpired between now and then. And I know when we first got connected, it was through a mutual contact who just kind of threw out those, you guys have a similar vibe. You should just chat, right? And usually when those kind of introductions are made from somebody you respect, you're kind of like, all right, let's see where this goes, And I know every time we've talked, there's been just so much synergy around kind of the journeys that we've been down personally, as well as just what lights us up right now in our businesses and our personal lives and everything in between. So I can't wait to bring up those conversations that we've had in the past already and then get an update from you, man. Like you got a lot of things on the go. So where are you currently? And maybe just give everybody a quick bio on who you are and your company and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I agree with all that. It's one of those things where, kind of we chat about it. It's like everything that we have going on is a lot, but it's all self-inflicted. It's not like I got like thrown into the deep end and said, "Hey, just figure it out." It's no, like I created the deep end, I filled it up with water, and I was the one that chose to dive from the high dive without any swimming lessons. And that's the case. So right now I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're currently in our temporary office over at Industrious and Noda, as we've had some building woes in the last week, which is super super fun. But I mean, again, when you get to land on your feet with the best band-aid in the world of a great co-working space, that's free coffee and internet and all that kind of stuff, you don't think twice about it. It just is one of those like beautiful things. But team's comfortable over here, which is great. And yeah, so we're in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. We have another office out in Las Vegas, Nevada, as well as one in Pasadena, California. And we are a growing company, which is incredible. Oh, there go the lights out in the hallway. But the truth is that we're growing, and we're about to really take. January 1 is going to be a really great pivot for us as a company, and we're going to launch a couple new things. We're going to embark on a couple new adventures, and we're going to see really what 2022 can hold for us. So we're excited. It's really great.
Right on. Well, I'm looking forward to digging into that. And, a couple of the things that I was really looking forward to talking to you about was the fact of just this whole concept of identity and how we attach to certain things based on our life experiences. And, a lot of times if we have done any kind of work personally and building a vision and that type of thing, we usually, dig pretty deep into it and say, this is going to be my journey. This is the next 5 years, 10, 20, whatever. And I know that was one of the things that we connected on originally because we both have backgrounds in sports where we were very much identified as like athletes. This is what I do. This is my thing. And then life kicks you in the teeth and everything in between. And here we are right now. But there's a quote that Brene Brown said that I always say at the start of these podcasts to kind of ground the guest and anybody that's listening for the first time too. That is, one day you will tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be somebody else's survival guide. So I'll ground us in that. And I want to dig into the details, man, and just figure out exactly what brought you to this place. Because of course, I think of you as a creative, but also a business builder. So you're an opportunity creator, Every time I talk to you, I'm always baffled and excited about like the stuff you got going on. I'm like, man, how does he keep up with all of this stuff, right? But I'm also fascinated to be connected to people like you because you have big vision, because you have this drive, right? That is really about telling amazing stories. And let's back it up though. So talk about your time as a golfer and that identity shift that you went through too, because that was a big part of what I wanted to chat with you about here today.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think that it's like, past part of my story, all that. But the truth is, it was I stopped playing or competitively stopped playing about 6 years ago, 5 years ago. And when I walked into a room, I needed everyone to know that I was a professional golfer. The way I looked, the way I dressed, the way I acted, the way I held myself, and all the above was I had to be identified as Duncan Littlefield, the professional golfer. And it was really interesting to go through this shift of when I left the game of golf, when I recognized it wasn't for me anymore. It's like, who was I? And yeah, it wasn't necessarily an identity crisis. Like, I'm very fortunate for that because I still have buddies, and I watch friends of mine win on tour every week, or wish they would win on week because it'd be awesome. But I mean, every once in a while you see a great friend of yours who made it up the ranks and kind of just survived at the mini tour level to make it, and now they're winning on tour, which is great. But I was not the one, and still not this to this day. I have one regret about my entire golf career, truly one. And I have buddies now who just sit on the couch and watch our buddies win, and it's just like, oh, I wish I held on, or oh, if I had a little more money, or oh. And for me, I was really fortunate where when I recognized it was my time, I knew. And I went through, I remember this so vividly. I played my last tournament, and on the way back, I knew going into the tournament, it could have been my last. And the way back, the drive home, I went through every kind of emotion of death. And I like shed this layer behind me. And, there was parts of the drive, and funny stories, I actually got pulled over while driving home because I was speeding, because I was so in my own head about how, where I was, what I was doing, all these different things. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with the police officer. It arguably kind of, I don't want to say shaped my next part of my journey, but it kickstarted me to recognize that I am no longer a professional golfer, and that's okay. it's not like this like beautiful, like, I had like the skies parts and I saw this vision of what my next career was or the next version of Duncan or anything like that. I never had that. It was just, I was aware enough to know that that was behind me. And I was grateful. There was a lot of emotion attached to leaving a career behind or leaving, what your identity was for so long. And I'm grateful that I came out the other side of it as, whatever, as the person you're sitting here today. I've learned more about myself in the last 5 years than I ever thought. But also, I recognize that like I've learned more about life through the game of golf than I ever actually learned about the game of golf. And I talk to my old golf coach quite regularly, and the things that he said to me while like teaching me about like a golf swing or fundamentals or anything like that are uncomfortably, and I really mean this, they're uncomfortably relative to my life today. And we're not talking about golf. We're talking about business. We're talking about family. We're talking about friends. We're talking about who you are. And it was just like, there's so many times where it's just like, I look back and I just go, man, Roger told me this. And it was more about life and me as a human being than it was ever about the game of golf. And so for that, I've been coached for a long, long time. And I'm really grateful for that. And that set me up. I kind of joke now, like Roger, my old golf coach, set me up for my journey now than more, maybe not more than the game of golf, but like he was the foundation, like him and probably my parents are the foundations of what I'm doing today.
Yeah, there's a lot of good pieces to take out of that for anybody that is listening and, is maybe down a certain journey. I just had an interview the other day where we were talking about this guest who got into the business side of marketing, right? And went to school for it and everything else. And then just had this underlying creativity to him and never really gave himself permission to kind of pursue it. And it was actually reinforced from the leadership even too of like, suits don't become creatives, right? Like this was what he was being told constantly, right? And thankfully he had an experience, whatever, in his case, it was like going to a film festival in France and realizing like, why am I not doing more of this? Like, what's stopping me from actually moving forward on it, right? And it's interesting. I think this was one of the things that you and I initially connected on was you referenced this as like a death. And I actually wrote an article about this in Entrepreneur when I was working with a mentor who actually helped me see it that way too, because I never used to see it like that. I used to just see it as, oh, that didn't work out. Oh, that was a failure. Oh, that I took that thing so far, but it didn't go all the way. And instead, I just saw it as these identities that were dying so that something else could be reborn or surface to the top. And, for you, where did you go to school? What did you take in school? And how did you get to become this person that you are now that owns multiple businesses? And, I'll make sure to link up all of your resources and whatnot. But you guys do some incredible storytelling and video production. And that's kind of the core of your business, but like, did it always start like that? Did you go to school for that? Or what was the journey like for you, man?
Yeah, great question. And kind of my running joke that I'll probably have for a long, long time is that what year would you like to talk about in my school career?
We could be on a 3-hour call here. Yeah.
100, well, no, not necessarily because I never finished. So,
Ah,
I never finished my college degree. So my first school I went to was a school out in Ohio called Wittenberg University, an amazing Division III, small liberal arts college. I mean, it's an incredible school. I was really fortunate to play on the team out there and had some kind of things come up where I decided to leave to go start playing full time. And when I did that, the goal was to go back to play for, a Division I college or Division I program. And in that space, I moved to Orlando, was going to night school at a school called Valencia. And then at that point, I was never registered as a full-time student. So then at that point had a few, unfortunately, I broke 2 NCAA regulations unknowingly, which then literally eliminated my college career. So I kind of looked at my parents and was like, all right, well, what do we want to do here? And we decided that it was time to kind of say, let's go all in and, kind of, chip away at things. And it was time. I mean, I was getting automatically withdrawn from college or classes because of my attendance, because I was playing for X number of weeks in a semester. And in night school, if you miss 2 classes, you're done because they're 3-hour long classes.
yeah.
So it just didn't make sense anymore. So, I didn't go to school for any of this. I went to school truly, and I'll be very candid, I went to school to get by so I could play golf.
Yeah. Dude, that's where we first connected. I was like, me too. I was a hockey player my first 4 years of university.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I mean, I just got by. I found out I was dyslexic when I was 18 years old and a senior in high school. So, school was never my jam. And, or especially kind of like the memorization, tactical aspect. I loved problem solving, loved putting things together. And that's why I kind of fell into philosophy and architecture, being puzzles, that kind of stuff really excited me. But from reading a book and writing a book report on it, I'm sorry, I don't need to know how to do calculus. I don't need it. And I recognize that can maybe too early on. And I just kind of rejected it. So my parents would probably tell you that I was a terrible student, but maybe I was too smart for my own good. I don't know. It's up for debate on that one, but I knew I never needed it. And now looking back, my mom kind of called it the hiatus for a long time because she was the one pushing me to finish. And now we don't even talk about it. We don't even think about it. And it's hysterical to watch her kind of flip and say I can't believe you did this without a college degree. And you know what? We're just getting started. It's cool.
Yeah, I actually look back on my time in university too. I'm dead serious. For the first 4 years, it was I just didn't take it seriously. And then eventually for me, I was 24, 25, and I was in class with students that were 20, which is not a big gap. But when you're 20 to 24, it's a huge gap, right? You're looking at things differently. You're getting up at a specific time of day and treating school like a job as opposed to just a thing that's on the side. So I know for me, I had to kick it into high gear and or at least that's what I thought to myself was I better go get this degree. Little did I know that I had never really ended up using any of the knowledge that I was gaining in school, but I took 2 classes that were entrepreneurship classes that were literally just come up with an idea, build a business plan around it, pitch it. And if you win, you get a good grade. And that was the thing that fueled me. I was like, damn, right? And then I never actually stepped into entrepreneurship myself for another 3 years. But looking back, at the time, I didn't realize it. But looking back, it was oh, yeah, that was exactly the path I needed to go down, right? And not be hard on myself for not being a good student because I was exactly the same way, man. Exactly the same way.
I mean, I didn't even take business classes. I think that's the crazy part. It's not even I literally just took 101s the whole way through. And at that point, I didn't even finish. So it's just I can't even sit back here and, I think I would, if I would have graduated, I probably would have graduated with a philosophy degree. Maybe. And at that point, I just don't know. Because I left between all my classes. I was probably middle of my, maybe I was a junior, maybe over 3-4 years or whatever, 3 years, 2.5 years or whatever. I was maybe a junior. But yeah, it's just I look back at it and I'm I think college and university is a great thing when you need to experience it. I didn't need to experience it. I went in at 18 years old knowing I was going to be a professional golfer. And so I also went in with that mindset. So it was just different. I watched my friends who I mean, again, college is great for if you're going to go get a doctorate, okay, please go get a piece of paper to put on the wall. I need that to walk into a medical practice and go, okay, got it, we're good. But for me, I just knew I never needed it. And I don't know if that made me shun it away or just kind of push it to the side, but it just was one of those things where I knew I was going to be a professional golfer and that was going to be it. And, now, sitting a couple years after, 10 years, 12 years out of college or whatever it is, it's yeah, still didn't need it, but it might have helped on a few other things.
Yeah. So let's continue on that journey here then. So you don't become a professional golfer. We know the story now, right? And did you start a business right away? What was that first business? And then how did that journey evolve? Because I know the last time we talked, I think you told me you had 4 or 5 different businesses and there was all kinds of interests and other things going on too. And if I'll make sure to link up all of your social feeds, but you've got a number of other, call them businesses or projects going on. And I know I was speaking with Brian Bogert recently too, and he was sharing about the Who stories and stuff that you guys are doing, which I think is incredible. So let's maybe back it up. What was the first venture then that you kind of dove into? And then how did that evolve over time to bring you to this point?
I mean, the first venture was Duncan Littlefield LLC professional golfer, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was like that was business one, and I treated it like that. I treated it as the space where yes, I was vesting in myself and all these different things, but I was up, I was in the gym, like it was a job for me, and I understood. I mean, as a professional golfer, specifically a mini tour golfer, you have to be everything. You have to be your travel agent. You have to be your nutritionist. You have to be your mental coach. Well, you're going to call people, but still, like, it is you. Like, you don't have a caddy with you, like organizing everything with you and keeping you sane while 4.5, 5 hours on the golf course competing for your life. Like, you were it. Like, it was all on you. So that kind of gave me the resilience of saying, like, nope, I can do this. So like when I said, hey, let me go into my first venture, like, hey, let me start a business, it was like, okay, like I'm going to treat it the same way. I know how to pay taxes, and like I know how to invest into the right moments. I know where it feels right to then kick in, or all of the above. So after I left the game of golf, I actually thinking about this now, the first career I ever started, or the first business I ever started, was in the streets photography. And so that was right after I was working with a couple companies around photography, social media, marketing, and all that. And I remember very vividly, it was always, I kind of kept asking people, it's like, hey, do you just want to go to the middle of the street and take a photo? And so like that's where the name came from. So from there, it was like that was born, put an LLC behind it, and grew that to a one-man shop that was doing really, really well. And from there, I picked up other opportunities from it. So I co-founded Rabu, which was a great startup still running today. A gym here in Charlotte. There was a fintech startup. There was a med tech startup. And because I was the photographer that was focused on marketing. I was the photographer that wasn't the artist. It was, hey, maximization, get it in front of people. This is what it looks like. And like, this is why we're selling it. This is our value. This is our value prop. This is why we should do this. And that's what kind of gave me all the opportunities. So I was, by the time I was 28 or 29, I either founded or co-founded half a dozen companies and raised money on top of most of them. So it was really great experience. And now everything at the Littlefield Company and everything we're doing with the parent company at Littlefield, it's just, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, right now, I spent the last kind of month or two to find some clarity in where we're going, how we're pushing through, and also where we're organizing everything. Because all of a sudden was we were offering this kind of like really diverse value prop as a company for what we did. Like, we weren't just a video production company, although that's our anchor. Like, we make kick-ass videos, sure, but like we create more trust, and that's our focus, is creating trust for businesses. So when you look at that, it's like, all right, where do you also do? It's like, fundamentally, we're a communications company. But like, we're not PR. We don't write blogs. Like, we don't do that, but we communicate. And the best way to communicate right now in 2021 is through video. And like, we all know that. Like, everyone says content is king, yada yada yada. But in my opinion, story is everything. And so for me, it was now looking at 2022, looking at the next iteration, looking at the expansion. It's like, we got a few things to just kind of clarify. And we're rolling out a great new program in 2022 that I'm just super excited about, on like how we're actually dividing and conquering different elements of, let's call it the communication, the video, the marketing, and maybe more of, use the word, agency model. But it's a blast, man. Like, we're having so much fun over here. It's incredible.
Yeah. And I want to dig deeper into that, the specifics of what you guys got going on here rolling into 2022. But a thought came up here. So when you were starting these companies, and naturally you said that like the schooling side of your background maybe didn't prepare you, although I'm sure there is aspects of it that did prepare you to be a business owner and a starter, because like that's what you are, right? But for me, I know it's probably 3 years ago I first heard the term but like 4 years ago, visionary and integrator, right? And for the longest
You mean
time,
rocket fuel, huh?
what's that? Yeah, rocket fuel, exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
And then all the spin-offs of all of that stuff too, traction and, entrepreneur operating system and everything else. But I remember I actually threw the book by my wife at the time, and I was like, I think I'm a visionary. And naturally, my first thought on that is to default to my humble, Saskatchewan roots in the central part of Canada. I'm like, I'm not a visionary. That
I'm not
sounds
that cool.
yeah, that sounds conceited, and it just sounds like I don't want to do the work. But then eventually I started to like just educate myself and get myself around other people that said like, no, 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 like you can be the visionary as long as you're surrounding yourself with people that can help you with all the other pieces, the execution side of things. And then it landed for me. And then my wife actually came into my business and became my integrator. And that's like in the last 4 years for me, like I sold my business, became a partner and a shareholder in a parent company, spun off a whole bunch of other things. Like I actually started to embrace who I really was, but I didn't have a word for it before. Did any of that hit your consciousness too at any point? Or did you just kind of, rolled with it, or how did it all roll out for you?
So it's so funny that everyone used to call me that. Like
Yeah.
he's the visionary, right? And I hated it. Like you, like I hated it, and it wasn't like I was like trying to be humble or like I'm not that cool. But what it triggered for me was that I'm the one that does the work. I enjoy the work. I do the work. I get the work. The difference is like I use the term visionary, and I'm like, I don't just sit in my office and think about what we're going to do. I'm just like sitting in my thinking chair and go, what is the Littlefield Company going to do today? Like that's what I attached the word visionary to. And I was like, no, I'm the one working 12 to 15-hour days, 7 days a week. Like, this is my business. Like, if anyone outworks me at the Littlefield Company, they should be in charge. No one will ever outwork me at the Littlefield Company. So I sat back and I was like, But at the time, it was really funny. You mentioned rocket fuel. So I mentioned earlier that I'm dyslexic. So I don't read many books. When I read a book, I get like few chapters in and I recognize what the author's trying to tell me and I move on. But so somebody referred me to rocket fuel. And again, I was sitting there listening to this book, and I'll never forget this moment for the rest of my life. It changed my life, no question about it. I'm mowing the yard and I have rocket fuel on. And about halfway through the book, there is a moment where it says, these are 20 things that happen in a business on a daily basis or whatever. And in that space, these are the things how the visionary would respond to. And the first one out the gate, I was like, totally. Second one, yep, that's me. Third, no little sense. Goes through the whole 20. I'm like 18 out of 20. And now it goes to the integrator. First one out the gate. No, they didn't think about that correctly. Second one, no, they weren't looking at it this way. Third, no, they weren't seeing the longer vision, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like 5 out of 20. And I'm like, well, damn, I am really not the integrator.
Self-diagnosis.
And at that point, I stopped the mower. I'll never forget this. I was about 3/4 done with the backyard, stopped the mower, took my hands off it, turned the audible off. And at that point, I called, Miller Yoho, who became our COO. And I said, hey, Miller, I have a unique value proposition, blah, 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 blah. This is what I need you to do. And within 7 days, I hired my first COO. And that was the first like real executive level position I put in the company, saying, just focus on making sure the company runs. And he did a great job. And, now he's out. He's no longer with the company, but still like great friends, dear, like consultant, arguably. Like I call him for a bunch of stuff now too. And but it was such a funny moment where I was like, well, crap. I've been the CEO, I've been the COO, I've been the CTO, I've been the CFO, I've been the CMO. I'm just like literally just picking up these CEO roles.
Yep.
I shouldn't be them. And I just all of a sudden just spun myself into a loop where I was changing processes all the time because I was the one working on top of everybody else. And that's where the company changed. Like the company took a very different dynamic about a year and a half in when we hired Miller as a full-time COO, and it was great. Best decision ever.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you shared that, because anybody that's listening that maybe is at the start of their journey and feels those same kind of feelings of being the visionary, but also in the trenches and doing the work, like where you literally are the business. If you are in that situation, being able to understand these analogies, like understand how this all works, and then accept it and then move forward with it too, is a huge part of the growth of being an entrepreneur. And I say that from personal experience because I resisted it a lot for a long time, and this is where, again, you and I, when we have our chats, it seems like we're living parallel lives. But, I thought that, well, if I give that up, now I'm giving up control over a certain thing. And now I'm not actually like leading anything. And it almost felt like another death, right? It was like I was losing a piece of my baby every time I empowered somebody else. And like, that's such a backwards way of thinking when you're trying to actually grow businesses and operate within your core genius. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is, figure out what that is and then run with it, take action, right? And that's one thing I admire about you in the conversations we've had, is that like, you just go, man. Like, let's talk about heading into 2022 here. So like, what kind of segments and things are you working on right now? And I'd love to know more about the Who stories and what you guys got going on with all of that as well, if you're open to sharing that as well.
So when we look at the Littlefield Company, we've done so many things, but what we've recognized as a video production, as a marketing arm, as a media, we're in a creative field, no question about it. And so you got to look at it and go, how do you keep creatives creating? How do you keep creatives enthused? It's an art form, right? Like, how do you make them better at their craft? The hard part in our industry is you find many people that are solo entrepreneurs. They're solo artists. Oh, I can go do that. I want to see a project because they like control, start to finish. But we're also not the company that says, I've never been the photographer that's like, here's a picture, here's a painting, let me put it on the wall and it's worth X. And when you look at me and go, why is it worth X? I go, I don't know. That's just how it's worth to me. Never got it. Like, I want to know market value. So when you look at creators and you say, hey, keep moving, keep active, well, they're solving the same problems over and over again. So it's like kind of difficult to hold them in this box. And I say that box like lovingly, but like how to keep molding them and curating them and like grow a team. Like right now we're at 18 people and it's like, how do we get that to 100 people? But we also believe in a very collaborative conversation in all creative. So it's not just like we have a creative director and he's been in the chair for 30 years sitting behind a mahogany desk and he's like, I like that video. Like, no, it's just not how we operate. We operate from any person in our company can be the creative lead in that project. But so when you look at the Littlefield Company at its core, video production specifically around client service. So it's, hey, we are creating an ad for this. Great. We are telling a story for this. And so many times you just get in this routine of just like edit, interview. And these great creatives don't get to flex, don't get to try things because most big box business don't want to take a risk. And not saying they should. I think they should take more risk, but I understand why they don't. So, but we have to find ways to offer the support and the flexibility and the creativeness and the risk taking without jeopardizing the client or that company's story. Because the truth is, the Littlefield Company, I think we've put like 10 videos on 10 videos across the entire length, the tenure of the company. That's almost 4 years old. Because the reality is that they're not our videos. So we've made thousands of videos and we don't put our logo on the end of them because we don't want to take away from that company's story. So when it's just their story, well, then you talk to a creative, you talk to a person that loves the art of it, that loves the final product. Well, then how do you get them to own it even harder, like even deeper, just like really commit to it? And that's where I sat back and I was like, okay, the Littlefield Company is now going to be a purely client service. Turn more into an agency model, right? So it's video production. We're going to branch out. We're in photography now. We're in marketing strategy. We're in video content strategy, but then we're going to turn into web. We're going to turn into digital. We're going to have so many other arms, specifically with a merger that we're going to happen when it comes to with a company called Anything. So we're going to manage their anything digital and anything visual aspects. Plus, we're going to work on the PR side. We're going to work on some influencer stuff, which is like super, super exciting. And then we're also going to have a department of Littlefield Company that's focused on an e-com accelerator, which is going to be like awesome. So that's like the Littlefield Company. So it's, 60% of what it will do at mid 2022, we do now. And then we're only just going to try to expand it. But now we look at that and go, okay, the Littlefield Company, Littlefield is a parent company. Now, what are the other things that we can really do to hone creatives and support creatives? Well, then you have Littlefield Productions, which is going to be focused on short films and features. So like that is going to be like a big push for us because like we're going to back, right now one of our senior creatives, his name's Mike, and like we're going to back a feature that he wrote and we're going to fund it. We're going to take care of it and it's going to be awesome. Like it's this like thriller kind of like Zodiac, like, it's just going to be so much fun to like take as a first project and own. Then at that point, we're going to focus on this accelerator where we're going to do an e-com accelerator where we handle all the marketing. And it's just a beautiful service where it just kind of can turn. Company comes in and say, hey, you're selling a mug, and then we'll take care of all the marketing. And then at that point, work to grow it together, which is super exciting. So that's company number 3 that we're launching Jan 1. And then the fourth one, which we're really I think I don't want to say I'm the most excited about, but it's one of those things where it's going to be the most attachment to is going to be a company called Littlefield Studios. And in that space, it's just going to be everything internal. So it's going to be all of our stories. It's going to be all of talk shows and podcasts and internal projects and blog articles and thought leadership. But we're also going to include whose stories in that. And that's where the partner with Brian is going to come in. So like we're going to own whose story under Littlefield Studios, because it's our IP, right? So we're the ones conducting the interviews. We're supporting somebody telling their story. And that's where it's like you look at this now package where it's very understood where things fall. Like it's a very simple filter. Hey, is it a client deliverable? Okay, well, here's the Littlefield Company. Hey, is it a feature film? Well, here's Littlefield Productions. And in that space, then we can have people in the business own other parts of the success of it. So it's not just, hey, I'm a junior videographer at the Littlefield Company, and my goal is to get to senior videographer at the Littlefield Company, and that's my tenure. That's my career. We want to become experts into specific practices with also understanding the rest of the business or understanding the rest of what the opportunity is for somebody to grow, tell a story, if it's client-based, if it's ours, whatever it is. And for that, like that's where it's super exciting to say, hey, we're going to have these 4 companies all under the one parent company. And then that's really where kind of like Littlefield 2.0 is going to go. And I'm sitting here Friday, with no one else in the office, and I'm fired up because like all of this is so doable. Like it makes sense to me. It's doable. It's a big goal, like all the above. It's awesome.
That's the visionary brain, man, right? Like I'll say this out loud and you just nod if you agree, but like there's times when I do something very similar to you, where it's like I can piece together these 10 pieces that if I try and explain it the first time, the team that I'm working with just kind of goes, yeah, sounds good. But I can almost see it like a hologram above me. Like I see how it actually will play out too. And then I'm also grounded enough to know that I can't be attached to the exact plan of how I see this going, because things are going to happen, things are going to change, whatever, need to be adaptable, right? But like, yeah, I see you nodding already, right? But that's the visionary brain. It really is, right? Is like to be able to see something that doesn't yet exist, but know where you're going to take it to.
It's even down to the point where I can tell you what the experience of the web is going to be. And we haven't even told our web developer what this is yet.
Right. Yeah. Which is an amazing skill, but also a challenge in the visionary brain to be able to actually articulate that and pass that information along and empower people, right? To co-create that vision.
It's actually really funny. It's one of the reasons I've started like writing everything down again. So like I got away from writing, like physically writing, and like going all Google, because like working with Riz and like the rest of my personal team, it's like everything's digital. So like we're on Google, we're on this, we're on that. But like now I'm like back like writing and sketching. It is, I think it's something that I've lost. Not like from a practice, but like a day-to-day operation. It was like, okay, let me just like get this on paper compared to a whiteboard or anything like that. And I don't know, it's something that it's just like, I got a great hotspot in the sun over here, my bad. New office, it's like, I don't even know where the sun's going to hit me yet. But in that space, it's so simple, or it's just like, I have all these like papers now and I'm just like sketching everywhere, that it's just like, I can literally hand this to my team and go, I don't want to say execute and like do what I say, but it's like, hey, take this. Tell me how you feel. Like, take this, absorb it, understand it. Let me walk you through it. But then you have like things that you could write on, and like you can draw on, and you can put it on a wall, and then you can take it to a whiteboard, and you can workshop it. So like, here's the 40% of it. Here's the start of it. I've always said that I am the guy that runs from 40% to 60% of the race. I solve 40% to 60% of the puzzle, whatever it is. And then I get really bored. Then I get really done with it. And I go, cool, hey, somebody else take it, because somebody loves to take it the next 20 to 30%. And then there's somebody else that loves to cross the finish line. I don't need to cross the finish line. I didn't even want my name on the company. When I first started it, I didn't want it because I never wanted somebody to feel like they were working for me. And I got great advice and yada yada yada, but like we decided to do it. And thankfully, Littlefield's not just so generic. Like it could be a lot of different things. But the reality is like I want people to cross the finish line. I don't want to be the only one standing at the end of the road going, cool guys, we did it. Like I willed this through. It's like, yeah, I know I can will and I can handle a lot more than most. And kind of like what you said, like one of my favorite quotes, something that I've been living with for a while. It's just because you can carry the weight doesn't mean it's not heavy. I can carry the weight.
That's a good one.
I know I can, right?
Yeah,
and there's some people that like resonate with that because they can put the backpack on. They can just strap on everyone else's problems, and go, I'm walking up the mountain. And I know I can do it, but I don't want to do it. But I want to walk the first part of it, bring some people with me, like have a little bit of fun along the way, bring some people with me, and then go, cool, you go finish this peak because I'm going to go to that peak.
Yeah,
and when
I'm going to go start over there.
Yeah, everyone goes, wait, you're going to start all over again? And I'm like, yeah, it sounds fun to me. Let's go do
exciting.
That.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Like,
and to another person, it might be stressful, right? It's like, no, we need to finish this. It's like, cool, do it. And let me empower you, run,
It's a no-brainer. And it's just like, it's something that I just deeply, deeply believe in. Because if I'm not pushing myself to get better, then who the hell am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's like you look back and you ask your team members to be great. And you ask them to be awesome. And you ask them to show up. And you ask them to do so much as this team collective. And if you can't sit back here and expect the same out of you, like it doesn't sit with you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's two, maybe three main things that kind of spin off from this here too that I want to address. One is the like the who stories and kind of the concept of what this is. In fact, I'd love for you to send me whatever you can so I can link this up afterwards for people to go and check it out. But I've been working with solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, experts, speakers, that type of thing for a number of years now, and have long been telling them that like if you want to differentiate yourself from the other 45,000 leadership coaches out there, how do you do that? Right. And I've broken it down, because I say 45,000 because like you go to LinkedIn, you type in leadership coach, you're going to find approximately that, right? Before COVID started, it was like 26,000. It like doubled almost over like 2-3 months. And naturally, the feedback you get initially, especially from somebody who's been in the corporate world for a long time, maybe older, baby boomer, that type of thing is, well, I worked for General Electric for 30 years. I've got real corporate experience. I was like, cool, tick, 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 tick. Now you're down to 22,000. How are you going to separate yourself? Well, I have a degree from Harvard. Excellent. All right. Now you're down to 10,000. You still have 10,000 competitors for what you do, right? And it is your story. It is the way that you tell it. It is how you generate awareness, but then also, build out the material that is, how do you do things differently? Why should they listen to you? What connects you to that person on a personal level that makes them trust you? You mentioned trust at the start, And that's where this is powerful. And then the other thing I'll attach to that, and then there's one other piece, but I'll let you respond to this first. The other thing to attach to that is like, I forget the exact stats, but it's like 4.5 million people a month quitting their jobs right now, right? And many of them are just literally taking the sabbatical and then jumping straight into the next job that hopefully will give them a little more flexibility in their homework, work office, scenario and all that. They're just kind of feeling out like maybe maybe the grass is greener over here. But some of them are actually going, you know what? I kind of like this. Like I'm around the family all day and I've got 20 years experience. I'm going to be a coach now, right?
Consultant.
Yeah, I'm a consultant now, which to me, I'm like, hell yes, do it, But I also see the reality of what's happening here, which is call it an epidemic in its own right. The entrepreneur epidemic is that it's really sexy, it's really cool, but like what we just described, if you're wired like us, where you actually like the starting and the chaotic, like no guardrails aspect of it, then you're going to thrive. But if you don't, then you need a way to be able to navigate this space. And it's just really fascinating to me. And anyways, I'll stop talking about that and then I'll make the other point. But what's your thoughts on that as far as like the personal story and how important it is to the coach, consultant, speaker, expert out there?
It's really funny you mention this because you're right. Like the pandemic of people just like leaving corporate America. Technology has done wonders for us. my belief is that I pick on myself because I can only talk about myself. And everyone asks me, it's like, all right, can you coach me here? Can you coach me here? And I'm like, can I? Like, I don't know if I can. Like, I don't know if I have the pedigree of a coach or a consultant, or like, I've never worked for a big company. I've never had a boss before.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me, right? I've never had a boss before. I'm just taking this light down a little bit. I've never had a boss before. So like, I remember like looking back and going like, hey, how do you do this, this, and this? I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I've never been the COO or executive assistant or, a chief of whatever to a CEO that's like pushing a company forward. I don't know what I'm doing. And I truly do mean that. Like, I know, I'm thankful enough to know and have enough going on that I can kind of piece it together and have some great support, some great people around me that like believe in this wild, crazy idea that I have. But, the reality is that your story is enough. And so like, my belief that every company out there, solo entrepreneur, big box company, doesn't matter. Their goal is to create trust. And if you earn that trust, you can have an ask. That ask is to buy, donate, show up, do this, do that, whatever. Well, the question is going, how do you build trust? In my eyes, it's a very simple equation. You tell stories that create a connection that earn trust. That's it. And it's that simple, and it's that that's dark. My bad.
We're learning as we go in this new space, right?
Gosh, I've been in this space for like literally 24 hours. So I had no idea sun comes through there, and that's brutal. So sorry. I'm a video production company that can't even control light. This is super bad.
Perfect. It's the humility in you, right? This is the humanity side of, the perfectionist in all of us, right? It's just like, just roll with it,
I know.
Conversation's
it's like, I'm sitting back here and I'm like watching my feed, and I'm like, man, all right, this is going to have to change tomorrow. And like, anyways, you know what? I'm not perfect. I'm never going to try to be, let me phrase this. I'm going to try for a long, long time to be perfect, but I'm not going to be it. And I'm just going to I'm going to work my ass off to figure it out. But anyways, back to whose stories and trust and everything we were talking about. The truth of it is like, your story is enough. But if you kind of like manipulate your story to look cool, or you manipulate your story to be an influencer, or whatever it is, like, that's the growing thing. It's like, you're renting a private jet. Okay, you know what? Whatever. I'm not that. I'm not the fake it to make it kind of guy. I'm the guy that says, hey, these are my cards, and if you want to hang out and you want to play, I'm in. Like, I'm going to give you everything I got. And that's my deal. Like, I don't care if you're not paying me. I don't care if you're paying me $1 million. You're going to get what I got. And I'm going to show up. So when we're looking at people's stories, it's so important. Like, you could sit back here and read resumes. You can read LinkedIn. You can say this, you did that, and cool this, cool that, whatever. But if you can sit back here and say, this is who I am right now. Like, right now, I believe that every person is the best version of themselves. Like, we have this core value in the Littlefield Company. It's be your DNA. Right now, at this very second, I am a better version of myself than when we started this podcast. Because I've learned something. I've experienced something. I shared something, whatever it is. But like, I'm a better version of myself right at this very moment than I was an hour ago. Like, I thank you for that. So it's like, if you could sit back here and share where you are in your life, and you can share your story, like, your story is enough. And that's what people don't understand. People think they gotta go flaunt here, they gotta go push it over here, and they gotta go do this. Like, hey, they gotta have that new car, whatever. And like, you know what? If that's your jam, rock. Like, have a freaking ball. But if it's not your jam and you're just flexing to flex, why?
What's the point?
You got to be self-aware enough to say, hey, this is who I am. This is my story. Like, my story is that I failed at my first career. Professional golfer, I failed, right? I was ranked 1100th in the world, and I failed at my job. And people look at me and go, wait, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because my goal was number one player in the world. And I was 3 digits away from that. At 1100th in the world, I was not number one. At that time, there was 1,100 guys in front of me, all better than me. And you know what? I gave it everything I had, and I am good with it. But I failed at my career, and I'm okay with it. I'm good saying I'm a failure. Like, I'm so okay with it. But I'm not sitting back here and saying that, like, I barely use my professional golf career as like people to get me in the door. Like people all the time, they go, I heard you were good at golf. And my response was, yeah, once was. And then like they meet me for a year and they're like, you played for 6.5 years professionally? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, well, that's a little different. So I'm a big believer in like your story is enough. And so when you look at whose stories and what we're trying to do, it's like we're trying to unpack that for people. We're trying to help them understand that their story is enough. No questions about it. Like their story is enough. It's valuable. Like you are the best version of yourself today because you've experienced things that nobody else has experienced. Or you experienced things and you interpreted them that nobody else has. And that's awesome. Like that is great. Well, then at that point, use it. Use it to your advantage. Share it. Build the trust. Because if you tell stories that create connection, that earn trust, you have a lifelong ask. So just don't screw the trust up. If you're selling mugs and you're saying that this is a gray mug and you're selling it, don't have it show up black. Have it show up gray. Because the photo's better in black or whatever, don't. Have it show up gray. They paid $19.99 for the mug, a gray mug that they ordered online and you got them with an ad. Have it show up gray. And it's the same thing for you as a human being. Show up for who you are, and that is awesome. Like that is enough. And so it doesn't matter if you work big box corporate or was a CMO here or CEO here. Who cares?
Yeah.
Show up for who you are.
Yeah, I like that framing, man. The you are the greatest version of yourself right now, because a lot of times that's what we're saying to ourselves that we're constantly striving for, is that I'm committed to being the greatest version of myself, which you can look at in two lenses, right? It's like, okay, well, so you're aspiring to constantly evolve and improve and elevate and grow, but you're also there right now. You know, you are a greater version of yourself now than we were 12 seconds ago when you got done talking and I started. You know what I mean? It's a frame. And I think that's what connects people too, is that if somebody's constantly chasing the thing that they're not yet, it comes across as inauthentic, or it comes across as like a person that still has a lot of work to do to actually be comfortable in their own skin. And that ultimately is the ultimate form of trust building, is like literally be comfortable with who you are in this moment, right? And constantly strive to better yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like, what else are we doing here? Like, what else are we doing? Like, somebody asked me, I don't remember if it was Brian or Rich. It was one of the two. And they asked me this question of going, all right, at the end of the road, what does success mean? What happens? You get a party thrown, like what happens? And I have this vision. I don't know why this is so ingrained in me. But like, this is the way I said it. I know my wife's going to throw me a party. I'm going to be grateful when my coworkers do. Like, that's going to be it. Like, I know it's going to be there, but it's not going to land for me when I walk in the door and say, you did it after 40 years. Congratulations. Here's a bunch of balloons. There is going to be a moment in my life, either pre-retirement, post-retirement, at the day, I don't know yet. There is going to be a moment where I am driving my car and it is going to flood over me. And I'm by myself and I'm going to recognize that I did it. And I am going to be so good. It's not going to be anyone else around. I'm just going to like sit back here and I'm just going to have just all this like emotion. I can already see it, which is like the weirdest, coolest thing. But it's not going to be this big party of like top of this building or that building with our name on it, whatever. Like, nope. It's just going to be this moment where I said, you know what? I lived my truth. I was my DNA true and through. And you know what? I'm good. And I pulled it off.
Yeah. There's a deep element to all of that right there of like, if you can see that already and you have that vision and you actually embody it right now too, and you feel it, then you're already there too, right? And that's pretty deep to say out loud. But anybody that heard that knows what I'm talking about, like, imagine you're already in that car and you already have that feeling from 10 years from now, right? Like, just take that feeling on and just run with that every single day. That fuels you for everything, you know? I'm a big, big believer in that. I love the fact that you and Brian are collaborated on that too. I had Brian on the podcast. His episode's already launched too. And just such a powerful guy in being able to help people extract those stories and to be comfortable in their own skin of who they currently are, you know?
He is one of the most unique thoughtful, caring people I've ever met in my entire life. And to call them a dear friend, a coach, a mentor, and a business partner, it's just, I mean, again, I've said this for the longest time that I feel like I'm the luckiest guy walking the earth. And I mean, look at my career, right? So far, this is my third career. I've had 3 dream jobs, 3 of them. Like, if I said anything to anybody, I was a professional golfer, full-time photographer, or CEO of the Littlefield Company, they'd be like, yep, sign me up. I'm good. Let's rock. Like, I've had 3 of them in 10 years. Like, are you kidding me? Like, nobody gets to do this. And I'm just so fortunate that, like, I'm taking every second of it because, like, I'm the luckiest guy walking the earth. And, like, that's my DNA. Like, I'm good and I'm trying to be better. I am trying to be perfect. I'm trying to maximize every day, trying to be efficient as shit. Like, I am trying to biohack my life to be better. And that is like mind blowing to people to say that Duncan needs more energy.
Oh, I know, man. You're one of the most energetic people that I talk to on my daily basis. That's why I enjoy our chats. So my other thought here, as you were talking about all these other pieces, was the short films side of things. So you mentioned that to me. I understand exactly what you're trying to do, as well as encouraging the creatives to actually be creative, not just follow one person's vision and have them celebrating at the top on the stage with the Oscar and nobody else gets acknowledged, right? I just want to plant this seed and I'd love to get your thoughts actually. So just in the last couple of weeks, I've actually felt it deep inside myself that I want to create a short film / documentary.
Heck yeah.
Right. And part of it was to actually acknowledge the fact that it's always been inside of me. I've been labeled kind of over the years of like hockey player, sales guy, business builder that holds the sales seat, that type of thing. And always very creative, but never really had that title, And I think to myself, like, no, I am like, and I actually really am quite good at it and I want to do it. So on that note, though, one of the thoughts that I've had cross my mind is this whole idea of the blockchain and coins. And stay with me here because I might go off the rails a bit, but it may plant some seeds for you. So, you can create your own coin nowadays, right? Anybody can create a coin, right? There's all kinds of places to be able to do that. And then, of course, the whole idea of like NFTs and the blockchain and everything is to be able to, in perpetuity, reward people that come up with the ideas or that contribute to something that builds to something greater, right? So when I think about filmmaking, short films, documentaries, where somebody has a vision, and the vision, they could execute it potentially on their own, all the way through, do the filming, do the post-production, cast it, you name it, right? Be the star. But they know that from their own experience, and this is me speaking out loud of me, right? It's like, I know I could do this, but I don't want to do this all on my own. I know I need to go and find people I can collaborate with. And I got 2 paths. One is like, just pay a company to actually do it for me, or find partners to work with me, or go fundraise through a Kickstarter and say, contribute to this idea. I'll create the film and you'll get X, Y, and Z as a gift. The other thought I had was, why don't you create it so that the actual production itself is an NFT and has elements to it that can then be monetized over time, and everybody that contributes to it can actually be rewarded for it over time. That's where my brain went in the last 2 weeks, and we probably won't even have time to really unpack all of that, but I just wanted to plant the seed. What comes up for you when I say that? Does that feel real? Or am I crazy? Man?
You're not crazy, because the reality is that the community engagement in that is going to be at an all-time high coming up. Because you look at, I'm trying to remember the name of the show. Again, probably somebody will say in the comments, but there's a show right now that is an NFT-based show that they release an episode, and then the people who have invested into it actually get to comment about what the next show does. And so it's this immediate feedback loop where they can actually be a part of crafting the story. So it is this really beautiful, again, you look at how shows have been created and how movies have been created for long time. It's like, hey, you create 12 episode series, knock them out. Here's the rollout plan week after week. You work around holidays, yada, yada, yada. Here's a 15-week run for 12 episodes. Okay, cool, right? But now things are happening so fast, especially in animation and CGI and all these other things, that technology has advanced the game. So literally, I can take the camera I'm shooting on this right now and realistically go shoot 4K movie. Easy. But again, it's no matter what the experience is you're offering to the final viewer. Now, if I sat back here and said, hey, here's my new show, and it's going to be movie grade quality and all this kind of stuff, all right, well, then people are going to invest into it for movie grade cinema quality. But if I show up with an iPhone, all right, well, I've now lied to them. But if you can sit back here and say, hey, we're going to go do this at the super cheap, and I'm going to use my iPhone to do the whole thing, then at that point, you can fund it like that because story is everything. And you can get this constant feedback loop. If a TV series did that, there would never be enough time to be able to hear user feedback, community engagement, and do all these things because you're literally releasing an episode. You'd film it for the next like week or two, and then at that point, cut it, edit it, and then produce it. And then all of a sudden, now your lag time is like 3 to 4 weeks. It doesn't make any sense economically to create a show around it. But now, if you sit back here and say, hey, let me take this thing or animate it or whatever, you could literally create a show every 10 days because of what the experience is, but also what the story does. And that's really important. So you got to look at it going, yes, like you're spot on. But like you look at Kickstarters and TV shows and all this kind of stuff, there's been so many GoFundMe pages for short films. Right? Yeah. It's the same thing. NFT, blockchain, all these different things are just going to take on form of it. I mean, you look at the NFT world right now, it's going crazy and it's nuts, but it's the same exact concept. So no, it's a matter of what the experience is, what's the story, what's the experience, and then actually how to go execute it. And if you can go showcase a great plan to have somebody so out there in the world be so attached to it and never be behind the camera or anything like that, game over. You're going to win 10 times.
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, I know we'll pick up on this one again because I always bring all my guests back to talk about the evolution of these things. And we should actually have a conversation outside of this podcast even about that, right? Because I've got some ideas and what I'm hearing from you, though, again, is just like it's about the story. It's about the community that you can build. It's about the involvement of people being a part of that story as well. And that's exactly where my head's going here, too. And I won't say anything about exactly what my idea is yet. I'm still holding that a little bit close. But I think you and I will really connect well on it. So cool. So I've got these last set of questions here I'd love to hammer through with you, man.
Let's go.
They're all excellent. They're all revolving around the one thing, which is the book, the one thing, which is ironically for guys like us is a little bit of an oxymoron. It's like one thing. What do you mean? Like I'm going to do like 40 things at once, but
somebody handed me that book a while ago, and I read like the first couple of pages, and I was like, "This isn't me."
Doesn't align. Yeah, it works for these questions though, because it keeps us somewhat focused, anyways. So here we go. All right, first question. So, who is one person or mentor that has been the most influential in your life all time? You can go right back to childhood.
Oh, are you kidding me? That's a real question. One, you want me to go one person?
Most of the people I interview can never do just one. So feel free to just roll with whatever comes to your mind. That's your answer. Literally. It's like, I can't choose one, right? Some people can, but others can't. Yeah.
The reality is I would be able to put it on 10 fingers for so many different elements of my life. But I would say, my dad is just an amazing human being for like what he's done with just like the most humble appreciation for life. It's unbelievable. Rich, our non-executive director, has taught me more about like actually building business than I ever thought possible. Brian has taught me more about myself than I thought possible. My old golf coach has taught me more about life through old practices and just like literally beating thousands of golf balls a day with just us hanging out than I ever recognized when I first did it. And I wish I recognized more of it when in the moment, because it was just beautiful. My wife teaches me things every day. I have business partners, Zach Stern, Emily Missler, like all these great people that just like pour everything who's their beautiful DNA for who they are, which then changed me. So like, man, one person, my dad's an easy one because he's been with me for 33 years. So let's go with him. Larry Littlefield, mustache and all, beautiful human being.
Perfect, man. All right. So this next question might really throw you off then, because the follow-up to that is, who is the one person or mentor you believe is most influential in your life at this moment right now? And you could literally just say everything I just said.
All right. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say me. I believe it's me. I believe right now, with where my head's at, with where I'm going, with what I'm focused on, this isn't like an egotistical, like I'm the greatest, but I am pouring so much into myself as I'm going back to treating myself as an athlete. And I'm trying to biohack my day, trying to understand, I'm trying different things to understand what's the right time for me to wake up in the morning and when do I need to work. Like, I'm trying so many different things that right now I am looking myself in the mirror is the greatest influence, mentor, whatever you want to call it. I'm pushing myself hard right now.
Perfect. Love that answer, man. What is one philanthropic cause that means the most to you and why?
Man, we work with a bunch. We're really fortunate to have been like really rooted in philanthropic and like nonprofit work and giving back and telling story. So, I mean, right now we work with incredible ministry organizations, and not just like church ministry, but like ministries of other things. And I don't know. One thing? Are you kidding me? Yes. I mean, I think dude, I'm a believer in storytelling, right? I'm a believer in that space of going, hey, if it's your story, it doesn't matter what you do, tell it. Speak up. Your story is enough. So to answer that question in a way of like, what's the one thing that's like better than anything else? Like, I'm gonna push that aside, and I'm gonna say I don't believe in that, because there's not gonna be one thing that's better than anything else. It's gonna be, I think, if we're talking about philanthropic arm, people need to do a better job of telling nonprofit stories, and not just because of sponsorship dollars or anything like that. But I truly, truly believe that the nonprofit philanthropic arm is a little backwards on how they market, how they tell stories, and where the dollar comes from. So we are trying to push into that hard. And I think if we figure that out, we're going to have a huge upside in philanthropic storytelling, which is my focus in, let's say, 2022 again. Like, gosh, I'm putting more on my plate.
Love that answer, man. Many of the entrepreneurs that I talk to, which aren't all entrepreneurs on my show, say a very similar thing, which is the work that I do is my one philanthropic cause. Because I know that if I contribute to that, then I help elevate the leaders of the world. I help tell better stories. I help all of these things, right? So perfect answer, man. You told it from the heart, exactly how it is. All right, handful more here. What is one thing you're most grateful for right now?
Coffee.
Perfect.
Yeah,
You don't
let's go
even
with
need to
coffee.
elaborate unless you want.
My life, I'm grateful for my life. I mean, like, I really
Yeah.
am. Like, I want more, and I strive to be better, but like, dude, my life's good. Like, I'm pumped. Like, I'm having a freaking blast, and it's really hard. Like, it is hard, it is exhausting, but I can't do anything else. Like, I can't work at a 9 to 5. Like, I can't do it. So I'm good. Like, no, I'm fortunate for caffeine and coffee.
Perfect answer. What is one thing you're most curious about right now and looking to explore further about?
What tomorrow has in store.
Mm, excellent. Last question, my friend. What is one thing that scares you right now that you know you need to meet with bravery?
What tomorrow has in store.
It's very true.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that I'm one of those people that likes to, I don't like to say control everything, but I like to control a good bit. And so the curiosity of what tomorrow's going to bring is so exciting to me, but it's also terrifying in the space where I don't know what's going to bring, and I can't control it. And a week ago we had to evacuate our building due to a fire hazard and electrical wiring that we had nothing to do with. So I had to uproot a 10-person team out of a building we've called home for the last year and a half to then say, all right, guys, we're homeless and let's figure this out. And so I couldn't prepare for that. I couldn't work on another lease or anything like that. And for that, like, that's where it's like this kind of fear, anxiety, excitement, curiosity, eagerness, all kind of play this beautiful world into what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's almost an addiction I find with people that are wired like us. It's almost like we want to know and predict those things and prepare for them. And at the same time, we secretly desire to have chaos around us to feel normal. Does that
So
relate?
here's a question for you. Do you prepare for phone calls?
I used to. Now I maybe do.
Yes.
Yeah, like maybe it's just a quick little research, check out a LinkedIn profile, that type of thing. It's no different than these interviews. Like
I don't
I
do it
spent,
either.
yeah,
I don't prepare for calls. And I thought I asked this question because I thought you would have the same answer as I do. I don't prepare for calls. Like, I know I can get on a call and do this and be good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's part of it, right? It's just the uncertainty. It's almost like a craving. Like I don't want monotone, analog consistency of the same thing over and over again. It just literally bores the shit out of me. I want the flow, man. I want the flow.
You need
So
it. Like it's like skating down the ice, right? It's like
there you
pressing
go.
off and like putting some great force into that right skate to then literally get on the left. And then like it's this flow of it of just like, and you can go really fast and you can pump the legs and you can fly or you can just cruise. And that's like the beauty of like what we get to do in business. It's just like there's times where you have to cruise and like you gotta just like slowly ease into things. And there's other times where you just gotta like go after it and hard and make all the ice come up and all like the sparks fly and rock. And no, man, I get it.
So many analogies we can use here. I could use a golf one too, right? You can muscle out that drive, or you can just trust that what you're doing is the most efficient thing and just be in flow and swing that golf club, right? And not throw your back out. And that's me speaking from my own personal experience as a non-professional golfer. Take it a little easier. So anyways, dude, I just want to acknowledge you for the conversation here. This is going to help somebody that's going to listen to this and be like, yes, that thing, or that's going to push me forward, or maybe they'll reach out to me or to you or whatever it might be, or get the courage to tell their own story, right? And we're here to be conduits of that, to help people do that. And I really admire that about you. And I look forward to the next conversation because we'll have to do this again soon, man.
Can't wait. I guarantee the next time I won't be dealing with all this light because I'll figure this out by now. But yeah, man, I'm honored to be here. I'm grateful. I'm thrilled. I'm lucky, all the above. But dude, for you and everything that you do, and just keep going, man. Like the change that you're putting into this world is epic. And man, I'm proud of you, dude. Like it's awesome.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So how can people find out more about what you got going on? Where can I link them up to?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're really active. We change our website pretty regularly with so many different aspects of like, updating stuff. So the littlefield.co is a great place. LinkedIn, social, Instagram, all that. We're really, really active on. So check us out there. DF Littlefield on Instagram, the Littlefield Co on Instagram, and then Duncan Littlefield on LinkedIn and Littlefield Company on LinkedIn. And you're going to get to see a few more companies get kind of sparked here in a little bit. So we're excited.
Love it. I'll make sure to link that up. And yeah, everybody go check out Duncan's LinkedIn profile, and you're going to see like 9 current jobs experiences on there. It's like baffling and exciting and encouraging all at the same time. Dude, I love our conversations and I look forward to chatting again soon.
Thanks, pal. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Trevor Turnbull Show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please consider subscribing on my YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast platform, and leave me a review. I'd love to hear from you. Now, until next time, remember, today is a beautiful day of opportunity. Trust that you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. So be grateful, be curious, and be brave.